It's March 21st, 2019. We're trading the New York session right now. This is the pound dollar. We just closed this trade with the trade copier and picked up about 21 points on this. Now, one of the things that I want to mention about this one is that the when I trade the pound dollar during events like this, I'm going to be monitoring news and rumors and comments. And sometimes, and I know that it can be kind of expensive to get a paid for news service, but I mean, if you're making a lot of money, if you're trying to make money consistently every month, it really is a good idea to be uh, in a situation like that where you can pay for the news rather than just look for these free, Twitter feeds and things like that. And nothing wrong with that either. I mean, sometimes it can be pretty accurate and they can be pretty updated on a regular basis or within maybe a few minutes of something happening. But they're only going to give you so much information. So again, when I'm going to trade something like this that's susceptible to rumors, and you have to be aware of that. So you probably hear the comments or read about these ideas and principles of getting to know the currency pair that you're trading, know what the current environment is for that particular currency pair. Is it a political cycle? Is there a presidential election? Are there elections? Is it all about economic data at the time? Markets move in cycles, and you want to be aware of that. So in this particular cycle, we're going to be watching economic data for the UK, and then we're also interest rates, and then Brexit. Brexit is a big deal, and sometimes when it's quiet and there is no economic data, it is a pretty good opportunity for people to release rumors or comments and statements. Sometimes the rumors and comments or the statements aren't factual, they're made up, and it can cause a 40 to 50, maybe even 80 pip move or retracement on the pound dollar. And you don't want to get caught on the wrong side of that because you're going to get stopped out quickly. So you have to be monitoring the news really frequently, like at all times if you're going to get into a trade. So in this particular instance, I could see the weakness continuing and then sitting there at that support level at the 1.1344 area. And that would be obviously a good area or location, even when it dips right through it, and then some kind of rumor, some kind of comment or economic data develops right at that time and then spins it the opposite direction to the upside. And then that will freak out a lot of people. They'll close the trade too quickly. They don't know what's going on. If they don't, and that's one of the things that I was stuck in the beginning of my trading career. I wasn't really using paid for news services. I was trying to rely on my brokers, updates inside of the platform. I was actually using the FXCM trade station, and they had these little real-time updates. And that was my news source. And very often when something would happen opposite of the direction I was trading and price would move the opposite direction, I would panic because I didn't have access to the information. So I would close the trade, and very often prematurely. And it wasn't helping me. I was just grinding away at my trading account, again, because I didn't know what was happening. So again, knowing this particular currency pair and what it's going through, what this currency is going through at this moment with Brexit, rumors, comments, news, interest rates, things like that, knowing that it can affect that, I want to be paying attention. You compare it to, let's say, something like the dollar Swiss. The dollar Swiss really isn't moving that much. It's not really going anywhere. So this one is something that I wouldn't consider looking at because it's just so slow moving and it's not covering much of a distance. There's no reason for me to tie up my capital in a trade like this. This one is going to provide me a much better opportunity. So very often when we see a move like this, well, support is usually the target. This is the 2-week low here at 1.2958. That's usually the target. But I'm going to be trading it to psychological levels and taking pieces of that move in this type of environment, because I don't know at what point it's going to stall and turn around and shoot back up the opposite direction. I'll either give back profits or I'll get stopped out quickly. So just be aware that even if you're using free news services, follow people that are reliable. Don't follow other signal services. Other signal services, if they're giving away free trades, maybe it's a teaser to get them to buy, to get customers to buy their paid for service, but I wouldn't necessarily rely on those signal services to provide the news. I would count on and recommend that you look for people who report the news and follow those people, as opposed to free signals. Very often, a lot of those free signal services anyway, you probably know what I'm talking about. They just aren't qualified. They don't have enough experience. Maybe they're lying about their statistics or their experience. It's just not that hard to put up a website and try to draw attention to it through Twitter. So be careful with that. Remember to follow uh, Twitter feeds that are news based or news reporters on the Forex market or the financial markets. That's where you're going to get better real-time updated news. So again, so we're going to be taking pieces of this along the way. Now, when it finally settles down here at the support level, that's the next step, right? I'm going to switch to a larger time frame. I'm going to be looking for the possibility of trading a breakout or a reversal. And again, I say this all the time, price does not have to hit that support level to stop at this location and turn around and then move the opposite direction significantly. So we need to be aware of that. You have to have certain tools in place and chart indicators, whatever the pattern is that you're looking for, that will help you identify that this one's about to lose momentum here and it's going to stop and turn around. Now, I talk about that in my trading course about how to pick bottoms and tops, how to identify them and trade them, not necessarily picking a top immediately and trading it or a bottom, but to identify it, confirm it, wait for confirmation, and then trade it accurately. So again, I share all that information on how I do that there, but you really want to have a method of identifying when this one is likely to stall. Sometimes I use the dollar to help me identify that price is going to stall and maybe go sideways across the board, affecting the Forex market. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I teach how to do that and use that method with the dollar, which then tells me I'm pretty much done with these currency pairs trading for the day. I need to wait until after the rollover and I start looking for more trading opportunities. So hopefully you were able to get some of this trade down here if you weren't using the trade copier, but I did execute this trade with the trade copier. It was a good trade. It moved relatively quick. I mean, it was just a few minutes that we were into the trade. Not all trades work within a few minutes where I get into the trade and then they hit their target. Sometimes it'll take 2 or 3 hours, sometimes a little bit longer. But in this instance today, the way things were moving, I could see the volume and that momentum here affecting the pound dollar. And I was aware that there really wasn't any more economic data that would offset the direction that I was trading. That's another thing you want to be paying attention to. And you've probably heard this before. Before you get into a trade, make sure you're aware of the news. It could either be in favor of your trade in that direction where the news is expected to, produce those results where you could continue to hold on to the trade in the direction you're trading it to, or if it looks like it's going to, if the expected outcome of that news after or that's going to be released after you get into the trade, if it looks like it's going to be the opposite of what you're in the direction you're trading it, then you want to watch it closely or maybe take some profits before that news is released. Sometimes you'll get a move in the opposite direction and then you know how that goes. The next candle opens up after the news and then it goes the opposite direction and people are wondering what just happened. So be careful there, and I hope that tip there with getting a good quality news feed in your Twitter accounts. Usually Twitter is the quickest way to get it, but be careful who you follow.